All right, today we are diving into something really special. It's an incredible Taoist scripture from the 7th century that, and I'm not exaggerating here, promises a guided tour of the entire cosmos. We're talking everything from the truly bizarre to the absolutely terrifying, all to answer one single, profound question about what reality even is.
So, let's get into it. The character we're following is called the True Treasure Youth. He's about to go on this epic tour with a celestial master, and he's going to witness the sheer mind-bending variety of all existence.
And when I say variety, I mean it. This first part of the journey takes us through some of the strangest worlds you could possibly imagine. First up, a land of giants, and we're talking beings that are nearly 100 feet tall who live for 8,000 years. But here's the thing. They aren't monsters. The scripture actually describes them as these peaceful beings who just spend their super long lives cultivating virtue and morality. Okay, from there, the tour gets even weirder. The True Treasure Youth is taken to a land inhabited by people with human bodies, but the heads of birds. They're dressed in clothes made of natural fibers, and they live in a way that just kind of blurs the line between what's human and what's animal. And just when you think it can't get any stranger, he comes across a race of beings with a single eye right on top of their heads, bodies covered in feathers, hopping around on one leg. And their language? Get this, it sounds exactly like the chirping of birds. But you know, this cosmic tour isn't all wondrous and weird places. It takes a really dark turn, descending into these infinite hells. And here, the youth sees the sword tree hell, where the souls of sinners are literally forced to climb trees made of razor-sharp blades. And then he sees the cauldron hell, where other souls are just boiled for eternity in these massive iron pots. So you can imagine seeing all of this back to back, the good giants, the bizarre creatures, and then this unbelievable suffering. It leaves our youth completely overwhelmed and, frankly, deeply confused. So after this chaotic, contradictory tour of all creation, the True Treasure Youth turns to his guide, the Heavenly Venerable, and he asks the question that's been burning in his mind. And this is really the central problem of the entire scripture. So here's the crucial point, right? He's basically asking, if the Tao, the Great Way, is this perfect, all-encompassing reality, then why isn't everyone enlightened? Why is there good and evil? Why is there sin? And why in the world do these horrific hells even exist? You know, how can a perfect system create such an imperfect-seeming world? Now, the Heavenly Venerable's answer is the intellectual heart of this whole text. And it's not some simple explanation. It's a stunning paradox that is designed to completely flip your perspective on reality itself. The first part of his answer is this total reframing of morality. He says that our ideas of good and evil are just surface-level judgments. Underneath it all, there's only one thing, virtue, or gongda, a kind of perfect, meritorious, spiritual reality. The master then takes that logic and applies it directly to the awful suffering the youth just saw. He says even the most horrific hells, when you look at them from the ultimate perspective, are not what they seem. They too are just another expression of this underlying perfect virtue. And finally, he just blows the whole concept up to include everything. The giants, the birdmen, the sinners, you, me. All of us are not actually separate beings. We are all just different expressions of that same singular, perfect virtue. The idea is that everything in the universe is already enlightened, already perfect. Now, this radical idea, as you can probably imagine, left the disciples completely baffled. The scripture says they were startled and lost. I mean, it makes sense. If good and evil are just illusions and everything's already perfect, why should we try to be good? Why meditate? Why follow any rules? Shouldn't we just do nothing? To answer that, the scripture uses this brilliant parable to explain how we're supposed to act in a world that is somehow both perfect and filled with illusions. The Heavenly Venerable tells a story about how to tell a true sage from a total fake. So, in the story, a clever fox demon uses magic to pretend he's a sage, floating in the air, giving these amazing sermons. He totally dazzles the king and the court, and convinces them to give him all their money, all their treasure, even their lives. The true sage, by contrast, is hidden. They don't do flashy miracles, they don't look for praise, their wisdom is quiet, their actions match their words, and they're completely empty of ego. The message is pretty clear. Beware of people who offer flashy, easy answers. True wisdom is humble and it's internal. Now, this is what's really cool. The scripture gets super practical here. It basically admits that not everyone is on the same level of understanding, so it lays out 3 different paths. First, for beginners, you've got the 9 precepts. These are foundational rules like don't kill, don't steal, that set a moral baseline. Then, for those who are a little further along, there are the 5 goodnesses, which focus on more active things like showing compassion. And finally, for the advanced stages, there's the path of the 6 rectifications, where the goal is complete mastery over your mind and your senses, to see reality exactly as it is. It's like a ladder of wisdom, with a rung for everybody. So how do all these pieces fit together? You've got this paradoxical philosophy on one hand, and this really practical advice on the other. Well, the Heavenly Venerable wraps it all up with one final, powerful metaphor that ties everything together beautifully. He explains that perfect reality, that ultimate virtue, isn't off in some distant heaven somewhere. It's right here, right now. It's like a treasure buried just beneath our feet. We're walking on it every single day, completely clueless. So we need the practices, the rules, the wise teachers, not to create the treasure, but just to help us see what's already there. And that leaves us with a final question this ancient text poses to its reader, and now to you. The scripture argues that perfection, enlightenment, the great way itself, it's not something you have to achieve. It's something you have to realize. It's already here. So, the only question left is, what treasure are you walking on right now without even knowing it?